Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Gustavo from Placker. Thank you all for being here today. Good morning if you are in the US, or good afternoon if you're in Europe or wherever you are. So, thanks so much for joining and for taking the time to learn more about Placker. Today will be all about resource planning and making sure that you are assigning the members correctly and that you are making sure that you have all the people available to work on the tasks. And well, for those who don't know me, I'm a customer success manager at Placker. So my job is to make sure that all the users get the most out of the tool. And one of the ways that I think it's good to do this is by those webinars, because we can show the whole step by step and we can also answer the questions. So if you have any comment or if you want to ask anything, feel free to send them in the chat anytime. And it will also be recorded, so if you want to share this link with somebody from your team, you are free to do so, and it will also be available on our YouTube channel later. Okay, well, let's start. As usual, it's going to be very practical. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you an example of a board and what are the options that we have to make sure that we are using the resource planner correctly. Okay, so I'm at my Placker account, and you can use Placker, by the way, both standalone, or you can use it integrated with Trello and Planner, Microsoft Planner. So we have lots of users who are mostly using Placker as a power-up for Trello. In every case, you can open your Placker overview page, and you will see all your imported boards here. I will open one of them, and for those who are new at Placker, we have many different view modes. We have the board view, where you see a Kanban style board with lists and cards, each card representing a task. We have the report view showing charts. We had a webinar about the report view recently, and also the Gantt chart. Okay, so the Gantt chart is very useful. It's a timeline where you have cards, and they are in a timeline, so you can see exactly when everything starts and ends. So it's very useful. We also have a recording of the Gantt chart webinar available. But today we're going to talk specifically about the resources that are needed to execute those tasks, right? Because if we don't look at the resources, maybe we don't see the resource planner and everything looks good in the plan. So the schedule looks very nice, but nothing of this is good if we don't have everything we need. So it's very good to use the resource planner to check the assignments of the members. So basically what it means is that you have a role for each member of the project, and in the cells you can check the timeline. So for example, today, this red line means July 1st, which is today, and you can see who are the members that are working on this day and how many hours. Okay, and when you look at this, you will see how many, if any member is over allocated. Like for example, today, June 1st, we can see that Robert is working 16 hours. We have 16 hours of planned work for Robert, which of course is not ideal. So there are many ways that we can fix this, because if we just leave it like this, it is very likely that Robert will not be able to complete all the work on time. This could mean that the project will have a delay, and we want to make sure that we prevent this, right? So what can we do in cases like these, in cases where a member is allocated to work more than their capacity? Well, the first thing is to understand, right? So we need to analyze and find out exactly what is causing this. What is causing this 16 hours? And you can do this by simply hovering the mouse over the cell. So I'm putting the mouse over the 16, and I can see that Robert is working on task 1. 8 hours and task 2 8 hours, or that is task B and task C, and they are exactly the bars that are on top of the today line. So it's clear, right? So we have two tasks. We have, by default, each member works 8 hours a day on each of those tasks, and we need to find a solution. So let's think for a minute. What could we possibly do to not have Robert working on two tasks at the same time? Okay. There's not just one right or wrong answer here. There are some best practices, though, that I'm going to share. But if you were the manager of this project and you were facing a situation like this, what would you do? Well, let me show you some possibilities here, and then you can make the best decision based on what works best on your project. So one thing that comes to mind is to delay the second task. So if Robert can do task B, could do task B and task C at the same time, but he doesn't have enough bandwidth for this, we could just set a dependency. So first he finishes project B, and then after that he starts working on task C, right? Does that make sense? So that's a possibility, but the downside is that this will possibly postpone, this will delay the project. Okay, so uh, we are planning to finish the project on July 23rd, but if we do this, um, if you watched the Gantt webinar, you would probably check if the card is a critical card. You can see that the C card is critical. So if we do this and we postpone card C, suddenly we postpone the whole project, right? So the whole project is now ending later, and that's not good. So on one hand, we solved the over allocation. Robert doesn't have to work 16 hours anymore, but we caused a delay in the whole project. Okay, so let's see if we can find a different solution for this. So let's disable the critical path. Let's remove this dependency, and let's figure out another way of fixing this issue. So we're back to June 23rd. Well, do you guys have any other ideas? One thing we could do here is that we could check if there's anybody else in our team that is available on that day. And that the resource planner is also good for that, because we can check all the members in our project, and we can see if they have empty cells here in the resource planner, which means that they don't have any work assigned. So we have two available members here, Karen and Susan. They don't have any work assigned. So first, let's check if Karen and Susan have the competency, the knowledge to work on task C, for example. And if they do, we could simply reschedule, actually reassign. So instead of having Robert do this, we could unassign Robert, and then we could assign maybe Karen. Okay, so that is also a possible solution, because Robert is no longer working 16 hours, but we have Karen working 8 hours a day, and we made sure that Karen is available for this. Okay, so that's another way you could reassign an existing member. What else? We have a third alternative, which is, well, let's say that it has to be Robert. Okay, Robert is the only person in our team who can do this. We are relying exclusively on Robert. We don't want to do one thing after the other. We would like to do the two things at the same time. So what we could do is have Robert work half time on card B and half time on card C. Okay, so if we click at card B, we can check the effort. So the effort here is 2 days, 3 days actually, but it is 3 days if we have one person working on this full time, so they are exclusively focused on this card, and that's not always the case. In this case, we want him to work only in the morning. For example, in the morning he will work on card B, so the full-time equivalent here, um, so the full-time equivalent is 0.5, and then he's working now 4 hours a day, and this causes the duration to be the double, but at least he's not working 8 hours a day on this card anymore, but he's only 4 hours on this card. Okay. I see we have a question in the chat. Let me just reply to Nicola here. Okay, and we could do the same for card C. So let's click card C. The duration is 6 days. The effort, that is the time needed to work on this, is 6 days. We could also change the full-time equivalent to 0.5, which means we have one person working half-time on this card. Then now the duration has updated. The duration is now 12 days. And the effort is still 6 days, but it takes double the time, and Robert is no longer over assigned. Okay, so that's the third solution. We could change the number of hours that each member dedicates to each task. Okay. Well, I hope this is clear. Of course, there are many still some tweaks that we could do here, but let's check some questions until then. First, let me go back to how we were before. And by the way, if you have two people that you could assign to one card, so let's say we want card C to finish as soon as possible because we saw that this card is critical, we could, for example, make a full-time equivalent 2. So we have two members working full-time on this card, and usually this would take half of the time. The duration will be 3, okay? So if you have people available on your team to do that, that's a great way of making your project end earlier when you have spare members to work on the cards. All right, let's see some questions. Okay, so we have a question. Nicola is having some issues to watch the webinar. Let me just tell him that we will have the recording available. All right, so let's get to the questions. We have a question, some questions from Sonia. So hey Sonia, good to see you here. Hello, can the available be set automatically via integration with the team member Google Calendar? Does it need to be entered in Placker directly? I was trying to avoid team members needing to update the availability on multiple places. Okay, so Sonia, unfortunately, the availability is for the whole board. It's not possible to set, like, for example, Karen is not available today, but Susan is. So this is a bit of a limitation. But what you can do is you can set the working days and the non-working days. Let me show you how to do this. So you could click the board view, the board settings. And so if you click calendar, then you can set what are the days where you are working. Usually this is from Monday to Friday, and the work hours is 8 hours a day. So this is default, and you can set the non-working days, like a holiday, for example. If you add a holiday to a Monday, for example, it will prevent assigning work to a Monday, which usually would be a working day. So this is a great way of preventing scheduling time of work to a day where your team will not actually be working. But this applies for the whole board. Okay, so you cannot have like one calendar for each person or for each member, or if the member is already assigned on Google Calendar, this prevents them from being assigned to a card in the resource planner. Okay, we have, by the way, an integration with Google Calendar where, for example, new events in Google Calendar would create cards in the Trello or Placker board, and creating Trello or Placker cards would create automatically an event in Google Calendar, but this doesn't affect automatically the resource allocation. Um, and there is another question: what if multiple team members can work together on one card? How will resources be split? What if a member works 80% of the time and the second works 20% of the time on this card? So yes, if we have two people working on this at the same time, so for example, let's take card C. Let's assign both Robert and someone else. So both Robert and Susan. Okay, so they are both working on this card. What happens by default is that Placker will split the effort evenly across the two team members. So Robert is working 4 hours now, and Susan is working 4 hours on this card. Okay, so that's how usually work is split. But if, like I said, if you assign two members not because you want one of them to work half time, but it's because you want to complete this card in half of the time that it would usually take, then in addition to assigning both members, you would have to change the effort, the full-time equivalent, like I showed before. Okay, so if you put full-time equivalent to 2, then you have two team members working on this card, and each of them would work 8 hours a day. So we go back to having Robert 8 hours, but now we're taking only 3 days to end card C, and no longer 6 days. Okay. And then you ask, what if one member works 80% of the time and another member works 20% of the time? Well, if you're using this interface and this option, then it will always split 50 to 50. Okay, it's not possible to assign like 80% one and 20% the others. It will always be 50-50. What you could do, if you want to be very precise on how many hours each member is working and how they are sharing one task, then we would need to break this card into checklist items. Okay, so let's say, for example, card F. Okay, so we are breaking card F in two different tasks. So we have F1, F2, and F3. Let's if we want to do this exact example, we could have only F1 and F2. Okay, so Karen is working in F1 and Robert is working on F2. And this card takes 6 days. So for example, we could say that Karen is working 1 day and Robert is working the other 5 days. Okay, so if you break cards into checklist items, then you can be very specific. Okay, so you can tell exactly when each part of the card starts, the amount of effort for each piece of that task. So this is what I recommend when you have complex cards that you want to be very precise. Okay, and how do your card level allocation team members work with checklists? Okay, so in this case, if we are assigning 80% to one and 20% to the other, then the work has to be assigned in the checklist item level, okay? Otherwise, if we just use the card, then it would be split evenly. But what I do recommend in this case is that whenever you have checklist items where you are tracking work, that you hide the work on the card, that you don't take this into consideration when you're looking at the resource planner. So for example, let's say that, okay, so Karen is working F1, Robert is working F2, and then F3, we could have like multiple people that are informed about this card. We could have a different duration, but we don't want this to influence the resource planner. Okay, then what we would do is we would click settings under resource planning here at the menu, and then in visibility we would select this option like show only by checklist when available. What this does is, if we have checklist items with effort and with members assigned, then we only see the work on the checklist items. Okay, so Karen is working 8 hours on F1 on July 17th. Robert is working on July 18th on F2. So it doesn't matter what is the effort on the card F. It doesn't matter who are the members. It doesn't matter that the work would be split evenly because on them, because we are only checking the checklist when available. Okay. Is this checklist level resource allocation visible on Trello or only via Placker interface? This is visible in Trello if you use the power up. Okay, so when you, let me open a Trello board here, because some people might be using the Trello. So if you're in a Trello board and you want to see the resource planner, you can enable the Placker power up. Could be, in this case, it could be the Gantt chart by Placker, for example. So you will open the Gantt chart within the Trello interface. So the resource planner will be visible as a part of the Gantt chart, okay? But like I said, so here it is. There you can see the Gantt chart as a frame in your Trello board. I don't usually recommend this because, as you can see, it's a very small portion of the screen. You don't have a lot of space. So I usually recommend using Placker.com, because then you have the full screen for the Gantt chart and for the resource planner. And everything will be in sync, right? Because even if this is a Trello board, you can open Placker.com to change everything and to see and to export. But everything I changed here will be reflected in the Trello board. Okay, so Sonia, I meant on the actual Trello cards themselves. Okay, so if you refer to the members that are assigned in the checklist items, so in the Trello premium version, you can assign members to checklist items. If it's a free version, then it's not possible to add members here. But of course, if you use the Placker interface, then you can assign the members there. And if you have the Trello premium board, then you can assign members, you can assign the dates. So of course, it's not as detailed as the Gantt view, but you can add a checklist item and you can add a member to work on that card. Okay. But of course, if you are being very precise with the dates, when it starts, when it ends, what is the FTE, so these things are are not possible. Okay, so where would we assign the resource percentage in the premium checklist? So in the in Trello, the only thing you can add is the due date of a checklist item. So this will be due by July 9th, for example. And who are the members? So I am the member. So um, this is the only thing you can change. In Trello, it's not possible to assign the effort for the checklist item. It's not possible to assign the FTE. Um, it's only possible to see those two things. So if you want to be very detailed, it's needed to use the Gantt view. Okay. Well, let me show you some other settings here. So yeah, I already mentioned show by checklist when available. This is very useful when you are assigning work in the checklist item level. There is also an option of showing the capacity by effort or by count of tasks. So if you are not very concerned about the number of hours, but you want to see how many cards a member is assigned at the same day, you could click settings and show capacity by count of tasks. So it shows how many cards a member is working on that day. Um, yeah, we have scope. So if you want, or if you don't want to see the checklist items in the resource planner, because I think I didn't mention this, but if you click the plus sign, you will see all the tasks and all the checklist items that a member is assigned to. But if in your case, in your structure, the cards are important and the checklists are not, then you could hide them from the resource planner. If not, you will see both cards and checklist items in the rows. And you can see it by resource, resource role, and checklist items, okay? So this is interesting. So if you click resource role / team name, you will see not only the member names, but you will see them um, also by team. So I have a management team, I have team A, I have team B, and it's more organized when you look at this way. So if you have like departments within your board, or if you have specific functions for each member, you could use the resource planner this way, and then it becomes more organized. Okay. And how exactly do we assign the resource roles? This is in the board settings. All right. So if you click the board title, board settings, you can click members. Well, if it's a Trello board, then it will be exactly the same members as you have in the Trello board. And you can assign the team name. Okay, so you can add it. You can say if this member is team A, team B, and it will be organized when you look at the resource planner. So that's a good way of keeping it organized. Okay, well, yeah, I think I went through the most important features. If anything was not clear enough, or if I didn't address any specific case in your workflow, please let me know. But the idea is exactly to make sure that you have the resources available in the days that you need them. Prevent any over allocations, because this would probably result in a delay in your project. Okay, make sure that the teammates are working as expected, and this way you will most likely have more chances of success in your projects. All right. When you are done with all the customizing and everything that you changed to make sure that your resource planner looks good, there will be a Save Changes button here next to the Gantt tab. you can click it to make sure that the next time you open the Gantt chart, the settings are the same. You don't have to reset them every time. And then you are ready to share this with your teammates. If you want your teammates to have access to the Gantt chart with the resource planner, you can simply copy the URL and send them. They will be able to see the resource planner in real time. Or you can export this to PDF, for example, PNG or PDF, and you can send them the file with the resource planner. Okay, so there it is. I have a resource planner with the PDF that I can send or I can print. Okay, well, this is everything that I wanted to show you. If anybody has any additional questions, feel free to send them in the chat. I will be happy to clarify everything. Until then, let me just show you that we have the chat button here at the lower right corner. So if you want to talk to us about your specific case or your specific project, or if by any chance something is not working well for you, you will you can send us a message, share us some screenshots so we can fix your issues. And we also have the help center. So if you go to help.placker.com, there are articles about every single feature in Placker there. So if you want to learn more about the options available for calendars, for example, you can type calendar and then you will see how to set the non-working days for the board, for example. The Google Calendar integration, I mentioned it very briefly, but if you want to see exactly how to set it up, how to connect your board with Google Calendar, you can see exactly how this works in the article. Okay, so we have articles for every single feature. All right, let's get back to the questions. How do resource work for mirror cards located on different boards? All right, so um, let me first explain what is a mirrored card, and also we will probably have a webinar about mirrored cards coming up in the next few weeks, so stay tuned for that. A mirrored card is when you have another board, like for example, this is project one. I could take this card. Let's take card B, for example. So card B, it impacts project one and it impacts project two. So I could copy, like I could create a simple copy, but if I want this to be mirrored, then I could click add card mirror and I could mirror this to project two. And what this means is that whenever I change something in this board, it will automatically change something in the other board. Okay, so yeah, basically if you open project 2, let me open it so I can show you. Yeah, so I have other cards here, but I also have the card B, which is mirrored from project 1. Okay. Okay, so I can see card 2 with the same dates. I don't see the member though. I don't see that Robert is assigned to this card, and this is probably because Robert is not a member of this board. Yeah, exactly. So I don't have Robert added as a member, but if he was, then I would also see that Robert is a member of that card. Oh, okay. So to allocate resources twice. Yeah, so if you are viewing multiple boards on the same screen, like I'm not just seeing project 2, I'm looking at project 2 and project 1 at the same time. And if I have the same member allocated to both tasks, so Robert is not a member, but I am, so let me assign myself. Okay, so yeah, so what happens is that it will be duplicated. So unfortunately, it, they are seen as two different cards. So it's that as if I was working on two tasks at the same time. So unless you filter somehow those cards, like yeah, if I hide one of those cards from the resource planner, it would be as if I was working on the two cards at the same time. So this is a downside of having mirrored cards visualized in the same project. It would be nice if we could automatically not show the mirrored cards twice, but you would see them duplicated. But thanks for the question. This is something I could talk to the product team about. But yeah, if you're looking at one board at a time, then you wouldn't have this issue. Okay, so yeah, let me know in the chat in the Placker chat if you have more questions. I'll be happy to help you there. I think I covered most of your questions today. So thank you all for joining one more time. And I will see you on the next. Like I said, the recording will be available. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you on the next one. Okay? Well, have a good week, everyone. And thanks a lot for joining.